Wow, we're finally here. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about what I'm doing here, what the purpose of this page is, and what you should be expecting as far as content. So let's go ahead and get to it. Thank you guys for joining. This page is called 116 Jiu Jitsu. So what I'm going to be doing is kind of like a self-interview, okay? I'm going to be answering some common questions, basically letting you guys know a little bit about me, just so you guys can kind of have an understanding of who I am as we go along throughout this journey. So my name is Michael Robles. I was given the name Twista during my time in Jiu Jitsu. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, raised here in Kissimmee, Florida. I'm a first degree black belt under Professor Igor Andrade. I received my black belt in 2019, so exactly 10 years after I started training. I started training when I was 13, so that's around 16 years ago. I fought MMA in the amateur circuit here in Florida for about 3 years, from 2015 to 2018. I had 11 fights total and won two championship belts in lightweight weight class. I did like fighting MMA, but I found that I was losing the love for it, and I didn't love it as much as I did love competing and training jujitsu. So I decided to step away and continue just strictly jujitsu from then on. I'm a firefighter paramedic in Florida. I have been for about 5 years, and I worked at 3 different departments, and I'm with my current department for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years. I love the job, love the allotted time that we have off so that I can also focus on jujitsu and other goals or aspirations that I have for myself. I am a believer, I am a Christ follower, so I try to hold myself to that high standard and live the way Jesus lived and show the love of God throughout anything that I do. So let's start off with the first question. When and why did I start off jujitsu? So like many families, my parents decided to put me into karate when I was just a young kid. I enjoyed it when I was young, but eventually when I became a teenager, I started getting bored with practicing the same techniques over and over again, just a push and kick here and there, and I really wasn't having fun with it anymore. So I started playing other things like basketball, baseball, but I wasn't naturally talented, so I was playing the bench a lot. So eventually I stopped trying out because what's the point of being a part of a team if you're always on the bench, right? So I stopped trying out and just kind of stayed to myself. One year, my dad introduced us to the UFC, and we started watching, and we fell in love with it. We saw that jiu-jitsu was very dominant in the UFC, so we started practicing some techniques that we would see in YouTube videos from those MMA fighters like George St. Pierre, the Diaz brothers. It's funny, my dad actually bought us some shin pads and some gloves. Well, he thought it was shin pads and gloves, but it was actually some soccer shin guards and those gloves that are actually hand wraps that go underneath boxing gloves. So there was super thin padding. He did buy his headgear, so that's important. But my brother and I were just kicking each other's butts in the living room in between rounds and in between fights. And once the round or another fight started, we'd run back to the TV, watch that next fight, and then go back and try to replicate whatever finish they had or whatever techniques they were using during the fight. So that was a pretty fun time. So we were trying to look for a jiu-jitsu academy wherever we lived, and at the time the closest one was about an hour, maybe an hour and a half away. One day while working, my mom found a gym opening up literally a mile down the road from where our school was. So we went in, got information, and that very year we signed up, we joined with Gracie Baja Kissimmee, and we've been with them ever since. All right, next question. What do you love most about Jiu Jitsu? What I love about Jiu Jitsu is that it's challenging. It forces you to grow, it forces you to be uncomfortable where you're at. Because if you become comfortable where you're at and you don't grow, somebody else is going to be growing and showing that their technique, their skill level is higher than yours. So if you want to be the quote unquote best, or if you want to continue improving your skills, you're improving your jujitsu, you have to continue getting yourselves into that uncomfortable positions, uncomfortable situations where you're growing and you're learning new technique, you're learning new mindsets. It's taught me to always continue growing, never be complacent, never stay where I'm at. What challenges have you faced in your journey? The biggest challenge that I faced is stepping away for a few years to pursue my career as a firefighter. During that time period, there were times where I could have come back and started training again and been competitive about it, but I struggled with a lack of motivation, a lack of, I guess, determination, and a lack of discipline. So throughout the years, it was a journey trying to find my original love for the sport and trying to keep myself accountable in different ways. What made you start this channel? I started this journey as a way to do multiple things, okay? One is show people, show the world some techniques and the way that I assess them in my brain, because not many people assess techniques in the way I do, where we look at tiny details similar to the Mendez Bros, where they breaking down smaller details in terms of like a grip, your body positioning, things like that. So I wanted to use this as a platform to explain those little details that improve a certain position or improve a certain technique. I also wanted to use this as a platform to talk about different topics that not many people think about, whether it's jiu-jitsu related or your relationship with Christ, whatever it is. I wanted to use this as a platform to talk about those different topics. I also wanted to interview different people, such as black belts, competitors, maybe hobbyists, so you guys could see their mindset, how they think about techniques, how they think about training, how they think about competition, things like that. So maybe you guys can have a different mindset at the end of the day. What can people expect from your content? So like I said, conversations with jiu-jitsu lovers, what their mindset is, how they train, how they recover. I'll be doing training vlogs, so you'll see how a whole class looks, how some training sessions look. So you'll see maybe a whole class recorded where we do some competition training, maybe some classes where I teach the competition and push people to go past their limits to train. You'll see some competition vlogs, so I'll go to some different IBJJF, maybe some Nagas or new breeds, whatever is in town that day, and we'll see some of the competitors, some of our competitors. We'll see, we'll have some interviews with some of the competitors, see where their mind was, and if if they performed how they thought they would. And I also wanted to interview some black belts and some competitors, so you guys could kind of see their mindset and maybe adopt some of the strategies and things that they use to get prepared for competition. Also, I wanted to do some Bible studies so that we could all study the Word together and grow. All right, some rapid fire questions just so you guys can know a little bit more about me, my love for Jiu-Jitsu. Do I prefer gi or no gi? I prefer gi. I feel like it's a little more technical. You have more grips, more things to worry about, and a lot of people get frustrated with the gi, but that's the whole purpose of the gi, of the sport of jiu-jitsu. No gi is very important too, so I'm not saying that no gi, I don't do any no gi, but I just prefer gi better because that's what I originally started with, and that's where the love of the sport came from, is training in the gi. So I love the gi, I prefer the gi. So my favorite submission. My favorite submission, honestly, has to be any chokes, because I personally don't like breaking anybody's arms, breaking anybody's legs. Because if you break somebody's arms, legs, they're going to be out for a long time. So if I get somebody in a choke, worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to go to sleep. So you don't tap, you nap. Simple as that. My favorite jiu-jitsu athlete. I don't have one favorite athlete in particular. It's two favorite athletes. It has to be the Mendez Bros. I love how they think about techniques and how they break everything down to smaller details. Like I mentioned earlier about either the grips, your body placement, things like that, your mental aspect. They always train that as well. But it also reminds me of my brother and I. We started off jiu-jitsu together, got our black belts together and all that. If you could roll with any legend, dead or alive, who would it be? I would choose personally Helio Gracie and Hoist Gracie. Helio Gracie was the main guy that started off the birth of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu way back in the day. Hoist Gracie was the one who started bringing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the limelight, so to speak, and into the UFC. So those two guys were very big in bringing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the United States and bringing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to where it is now. So that would be very cool to roll with either of them if I had the chance to. If you guys love Jiu Jitsu as much as I do and you vibe with this page, hit like, follow, and share this with anybody you can choke out. If there's any specific topic you want to hear me talk about or any specific moves you guys want to see me break down, anyone in particular you guys want to see me interview, just leave it down in the comments. Let me know. Send me a DM, whatever it is, and I'll try my best to make it happen. Thank you guys for sticking around. We'll see you on the next one. Us.